Ekster to the stage. I've known Gene probably for 6 years. In the early days of my business, I went searching for experts in the alternative space to help advise me on my business roadmap. I found Gene. He had worked at Majestic Research, which is now M Science, which actually acquired ticker tags, SAC, 1010, and his own company today, Alternative Group. So he's one of the early guys into the alternative space and has been a great mentor and advisor to Eagle Alpha over the years. I'd like to welcome Gene to the stage.
Thank you. Chris. I have the privilege of working across the ecosystem in various different roles at very distinct players in the ecosystem. Okay, so next you are given the raw materials for it, but you're expected to fully make it yourself before you can test it and make the decision about whether to buy it or not. This kind of thing happens in alternative data all the time. The originators are the ones that have the source of the data very often. It's raw, it's unstructured, it's alternative data after all. It wouldn't be alternative data if it weren't kind of funky and different to begin with. Evaluation requires taking the data set and pre-processing it, developing an internal proof of concept, and then trying to estimate the value to the fund. So basically a data set must be developed and eval in the same way that it's developed once it's purchased. And keep in mind that R&D is probably one of the costliest, if not the costliest part of this entire business. Catch-22 is the most expensive part of the data buying process, is the pre-processing and R&D that needs to occur before we make our purchasing decision. But now we need to focus and look at what does the industry currently do to deal with evaluating data. Okay? The report card, this has been in use for a while now, and for a while in this industry is 5 years. Describes the overall dimensions of the data set, right? Like how, what's the time granularity, what's the history, how many buyers there are in the market right now, how many people are using it, and stuff like that. So those kinds of report cards tends to have, a little bit maybe of grade inflation. I mean, the data set could just be random data typed by a bunch of monkeys. You'll never know if you don't go into the data set to really check it. And so this doesn't do that. Next we get to the golden triangle. In the most basic sense, it's a way to validate a data set with a perfect case study. So it's got three components. One is a catalyst in the data set, so a movement in the data, something changes in the data that's noticeable at a given point in time. Two is a related event in the real world, seen through news or online or somehow. And number three is the stock market reaction to that news event. And so if we put it all together, we have a movement in the data, a related real world event, and a stock price reaction to that event. If we can line these three up, then we can confidently say that the data is indeed representative of the real world and does have some info pertinent to investors. So finally, we come to the best-in-class strategy. This is a full evaluation, basically requires us to develop a product from raw data. So in the past, this is the catch-22 that we were talking about, but the solution to this evaluation paradox is technology. We can partially or fully automate a lot of these pre-processing steps, which are data structuring, panel stabilization, bias minimization, and modeling. This kind of full and partial automation is actually happening now and will get to its peak within 12 months from now, so it will radically transform the industry. Like I said, a lot of these data sets come raw, so whether it's images to labels or text to standardized information, without structuring, we can't do any kind of real analysis. In order to map this, you would have to build these enormous tables of regular expressions. And what we realized is that's just overall not the number of companies you're trying to map to increases, the complexity of these lists becomes exponential. Today, this problem is being dealt with automatically. We realize that if we get rid of these static lists of keywords and regular expressions, and if you replace them with smart algorithms, we can get a lot of leverage here. These automated algorithms, they work well, they work across different types of data sets, and most importantly, they are extremely inexpensive compared to all the other solutions that involve a lot of manual work. Next, panel stabilization. This is an interesting challenge in alternative data. Ideally, you would want your data set to have, let's say, all the users all the time, which is like the picture above. But the reality is it's like the picture below, where only some of the users are there all the time, and most of the users just pop in and out of the data set. They only have partial data. And there's a parallel to imputation of pixels and images. And think about every user in the data set as a picture, and they're missing data as the pixels. Then you could sort of take, and this is what we've done, we've taken algorithms from NVIDIA for this task and modified them heavily to work for the sparse time series problems. And it's quite amazing. I mean, automatic evaluation is something that's going to transform the industry, that's transforming the industry, and it's going to be here like everything else in the alternative data industry in the blink of an eye.
Great. Thank you.